Hello friends, welcome to CSS tutorial. In this sub-series, we are learning about the CSS box model and we are at the final part of this sub-series. Here we will learn about line height and overflow properties of the CSS. So see, the CSS line height property allows space between the lines, right? So that's a CSS line height property. Sometimes content overflow out of the box when height and width is defined. Also, when the moment we change the line height property, the time also there is a possibility of content overflow, right? Content overflow can happen by defining the height and width as well as line height. The overflow property comes for rescue, and allowed values for this overflow properties are visible. So overflow content will be visible outside the box. So here what we are talking is, let's state that this is the box. So box is defined based on the content, right? So by default, the browser will do the adjustment. We saw in the previous video when we are resizing the browser, that time we saw the border also resized, right? When there is no height and width. But the moment you fix the height and width, when you resize the browser, the content will not resize. The border will stay as it is, or the width and height will stay as it is. So when we fix width and height, let's state that we are displaying a paragraph, and there will be a possibility that paragraph may overflow this content because of this fixed width and height. The moment you increase the line height, it may go outside the content, or the moment you add more content to the paragraph, that time also overflow may occur. So to avoid this overflow, or to tackle this overflow, there is a property called overflow, CSS overflow property, and let's see the effect of the values that we set to this overflow property. When you set visible, overflow content will be visible outside the box. That means the border will be displayed as well as content also displayed. So this will look awkward when there is a border, but if there is no border, you may not see overflow is happening. But for this demo and easy understanding purpose, we will put a border so that you can clearly see the content overflow occurs beyond the defined width and height. Because here we are talking about overflow with all these three properties: line height, height as well as width, right? All these together may form a overflow, as well as the content. Content means if you add more content, at that time also a overflow can happen because of the specified defined width and height. The width and the height is not dynamic, right? It will not get adjusted by the browser resize. So once you set visible to the overflow property, the content overflow occurs and you can see both. And once you set hidden for the overflow property, the overflow content will be removed or it will be hidden. So there is one more value, scroll. Once you specify scroll to overflow, scroll bar will be provided. to see the overflow content. So here width and height will remain same, but a scroll bar will be provided, and you can scroll through the content to see the overflow stuff. So when you specify auto, scroll bars will be added only when needed. If you specify scroll, scroll bar will be presented always, but if you specify auto, the scroll bar will be visible only when the content overflow occurs. Now let's go to the demo. So created the file here, content overflow, and that is presented here. So first we will have a paragraph. So that's the paragraph here. So in the paragraph we have overflow line height. Now we will define a CSS style rule for this specific class. So font family CGY, border color border width we specified, style double, padding 3 pixel, margin 5 pixel, height 100 pixel, and width 800 pixel. So we defined fixed width for this paragraph by defining this CSS style rule. Now let's save the content, and you can clearly see by default the content is overflowing the defined size. All right, the defined size is height 100 pixel and width is 800 pixel. Since we fixed the height, the content is going beyond this fixed height. So that's the default content in the sense. So this is the paragraph content, and it is going beyond the defined size limit, right? So let us adjust the width to 400 pixel and save the content. And if you see here also the content overflow is occurring. Since this is a paragraph, a word wrap is happening, or content is wrapping, so that you can read the paragraph actually, but a overflow also occurring because it should span on multiple lines. But if this content is image instead of a paragraph, then such a wrapping may collapse the image. So image will not be collapsed, and overflow happens on both X and Y direction. Here the overflow is happening in the Y direction since it is a text, and since it can be wrapped in multiple lines. The overflow is not happening on the width side, but it is happening on the height side, right? Because here the size of the content defined is height 100 pixel, this one 100 pixel, and width is 400 pixel. And you can see that by means of the box border here, we defined border color width, right? As well as we specified a double for the border style. Okay, so flow content overflow is occurring here. Now we will move ahead with the example. We will also add a line height, and if you see, this will let's save this, and you can see. So line height defines the distance between two lines. Here the moment we try to fit the content inside the box, and we specified 5 pixel for line height, and we can see there is a overlap of each line. So one line is written on top of another line, and the paragraph becomes non-readable one. So let's make line height as 15 pixel, and if you see, now we defined a line size and still the overflow is happening. And if we keep it as 10 pixel, so we are not able to fit the paragraph inside this defined box, and the moment we specify 10 pixel, it is overlapping. So let's increase the readability by keeping line height as 30 pixel. And if you see, there are high gap between the sentence. To make it decent, let me go with 20, and we can read the content, but overflow is happening. Now let's explore the overflow properties. So for the same paragraph, now we are defining the overflow property, and by default the visible property is true, or by default the overflow is set with visible. That's why we are seeing the overflow content here. Now let's keep it as hidden and save the content. And if you see, we don't see the content that is overflowing beyond the defined width and height. But this is not acceptable, right? Because we cannot read the complete paragraph as it is terminating the content, right? So the hidden property will tell the box to hide the content when overflow happens. Now let's go with the scroll property, I mean the scroll value for this overflow property. And if you see, it provides a scroll bar so that we can scroll through the content and read it, right? We can scroll and read it. Because of auto refresh, I cannot keep it in the middle. Let us stop the auto refresh. Okay, auto refresh is stopped, and if you see, you can scroll through the content nicely. And it occupies some space by providing the horizontal scroll bar also. We know that a horizontal scroll bar is not required here at all, because the sentence will wrap to the next line when there is no width available. All right, so if we use auto here, the scroll bar will be provided only when required. Now let's if you see, horizontal scroll bar is gone because it is not required, only vertical scroll bar is provided. And if we increase the height to 600 pixel, and reload the content, if you see, the scroll bar is gone now, right? Vertical scroll bar is gone. If I say scroll, the scroll bar will be provided always, right? So that's the content overflow. To tackle with overflowing content, we can use it. Alright, that's all here in this video. Just now you saw the demo. Thank you for watching. Bye.